Restore your gut health. This is a hot topic right now, and I'm sitting right next to a compost bin made out of pallets. The pallets were free at our local hardware store, and most hardware stores have free pallets that you just pull together, tie with string, or put a top board and screw in a top board that holds them together. And I'm sitting next to a pumpkin that's forming out of a compost pile that we made this year, just 3 months ago, with layers of what I call detritus. So you can go back to the video called Detritus on my channel that shows this compost pile when it first began, with layers of leaves, sticks, lots of like weedy grass materials, like here's some nice grasses, stuff that was pulled off the bank, horse manure, and sticks. I mean, just anything that was gathered with a rake. And all of that becomes really healthy soil full of worms and microbes. And that's a big, beautiful pumpkin, because pumpkins will grow straight out of compost the first year. So now what I'm going to try and show you is this enormous project of pumpkins is a first year compost. And that bucket is where I was just sitting with an enormous pumpkin. So I'm going to get you another view without so much sun. That these are pallets, and they've been screwed together on top with some old planks. And you can also see tomatoes growing out. And inside there are many varieties of plants inside, also including Tulsi. But early on in the spring, my partner Claude put a layer of like finished compost right on very packed down detritus, and he planted like the early lettuces and radishes and so forth. So today he's doing a project of, and I'll just get you a view of our beautiful echinacea, a project of bringing chips from Chippers, which is our local kind of tree cleanup service here in Vermont. And yesterday he was interviewed by a reporter, because he seems to be one of the only people who just goes and takes all of this free wood chips, which the first year that you place these down will be good garden path, but then after that, actually they become like mulch in the forest. And we have radishes and all kinds of things growing straight up through our beautiful garden paths, so that everything is growing like a permaculture forest. I'm walking by the kiwis, and I'm going to take you over to where Claude is working right now. And you can see the paths in here. And we layer up food. So the marigolds, tomatoes, kale, cilantro, Hopi red amaranth, beets, a different variety of kale, mullein, which is a fabulous dried herb for the lungs. Here's some finished peas. The mustard seeds are leaning against that. And I'm going to bring you down to the brand new area that Claude is creating and how he makes soil. So this is important. So we have elderberries. And do you see that row of cardboard? He's surrounding the elderberries with boxboard that he's taken the tape off of. And he'll put the either compost onto that. So here you can see manure and some old hay mixed in with some wood chips. And he also buried a bunch of clippings from the elderberry trees. And over here's the horseradish, Jerusalem artichokes, and that's a blueberry bush. And you can see this is all brand new. So it's August, and all we do is make gardens. Like, this is about an acre that we do this on. So you can see the box board, and that's right up next to a pond. But we're going to grow food right to the edge of this pond, and those cattails are also part of the pond that are a type of food. Here's the Joe Pye weed, which we keep on the edge of the pond for the monarch butterflies. And here's Claude working. So hopefully you can see him working. He's just taking the box board. He dug up a whole bunch of plant material, and he's taking the box board and he's putting it on top of what used to be the plant material, and he's just kind of pulling it back. Now you can also just mow it with a lawnmower, but he's pulling it back and then putting the box board down, and then he'll use all of that plant material as a really good source of compost. So here's a new garden that we just did this year, and for the first time I did cowpeas, which are like crazy things that I don't understand at all, but you see those long things? Those are cowpeas. And then here you can see tomatoes that I've tied up. There goes Claude with the wheelbarrow. And this is all corn with really nice ears on it, super tall corn. And that's growing with the cowpeas. And then here we have some beautiful butternut squash. So corn, beans, and squash right next to the pond. And we basically had the pond dug out, and a machine came in, dug a tiny little pond just so that we'd have nice frogs and wildlife. And then all of that pond muck is what's creating this beautiful corn. And Claude brought some compost from a local horse farm, truckload by truckload, and I think that video of him moving horse poop with a wheelbarrow is called The Path to Enlightenment. So if you just can contact a local horse farm, not cow unless it's a completely grass-fed cow, because the cows get most cow farms are still like feeding the glyphosates from their corn silage. But I want to show you another compost. So you should have composts to create soil all over your yard. And this one has grass clippings, it has corn that I've already harvested, and this is one with sticks, and this one has sticks but also lots of green material. And this is the orchard. We used to have chickens in here, so it's very rich. So there's comfrey, and comfrey should go into the compost all the time because comfrey has a root that's very deep and it pulls up nutrients. So I'm going to get you another view of the corn here. We've also planted some wild bergamot this year that I got seeds from at an apothecary that saves seeds. And that's so beautiful with the corn. And that's for the butterflies. But in terms of your gut health, you can create soil just by being diligent. You have to work. And you have to layer. Claude says it's just layer upon layer. I'm going to show you one view of our brand new, started this in March, food tube, as Claude calls it, vertical garden with pole beans growing over top. It's about 6 feet high. And then zucchini, kale, and we also had regular beans. I've pulled a lot of the regular beans because the regular beans finish earlier. This is between the two tubes, but that was all my early greens. You can still see collards, beets, but I had beans and different lettuces in there. And then this one we've left this way so you can see how to do it. So this tube, basically you put down the box board. You don't have to leave the wood down though. The wood is just holding the box board right now. And then you layer that with different types of finished compost. Where did that come from? I'll take you right over here. it came from this now finishing compost, which again has my bean, like, the bean plants of the beans that I've already harvested, and it's against pallets. And Claude just keeps adding the clippings from the lawn, anything that he rakes up, and horse manure. As often as you can get horse manure, that's great, because most horses are fed just grass. But make sure that the hay that they receive did not have like any kind of treatment to it, because we heard from our neighbors that some of their hay that was offered had a treatment on it to kill like this bindweed that was, making the mowers get caught up. So make sure that the horses that you receive your manure from, now you might have to get it, so you have to go get a truck, or my daughter does it bucket by bucket. She just goes with her little buckets and puts it in the back of her Jeep. But all of this was created in just 3 months. Like, this creates food in 3 months. And there are different videos on how to make these structures, but basically I made them 4 feet apart. And then we happened to have all this old PVC that we had used it for like a natural water system, but basically we just cut it to length at about 8 feet high, because I need to be able to fit through this and not hit myself in the head with beans. I'm going to try and walk backwards so you can see how it is. It's like the beans are heavy, so make it a little bit higher, because the beans are actually so heavy. They're weighing down this old repurposed goat fence. And right now I'm walking through and like the beans are like grabbing my hair, because it will get heavy, particularly if you grow squash. Like, can you see how that is weighed down right there just by the weight of these beautiful pole beans that we're going to pick when they're ready and dry? And then you can see some morning glories on the edge. Here's an asparagus and more kale, red lettuce that's going to seed. So your compost is your gut health. And if you want to maintain like a healthy microbiome, you really do have to grow your own food. This is essential. Like, we can't wait for someone else to do it. I have other videos. Go to Food Sovereignty and Saving Seeds on Mara Elaine's YouTube video, and watch how important it is for us to grow our own food and keep our guts healthy, because even organic foods that are sold as organic are not organic. So I'm just walking through the gardens so you can get a view. There's Claude's truck. And I want to show you kind of the fence line. That fence line is grapes, but if you can see the yellow in the grapes coming over top of the hemlock trees, there are yellow flowers. Those are all pumpkins that are growing in the air that make a natural fence. And I did another video on fences, so go ahead and look at that. Make sure that you know how to fence your yard, because good boundaries are really important for gardening. You don't want to like let your food be open to bears, which last year the bears came, at least one big bear, and ate 40 ears of corn in one night. So you want to discourage that. You don't want to come out picking berries in the morning and like meet a bear. That would not be good. So have good boundaries so that you don't worry about that. And I'm going to show you another compost pile. So this compost pile has the beans. It also has the corn that is finished. And you turn that over, you turn it over again and again. And then Claude learned early from his grandparents to use the outhoused, like shavings with human manure. And we have one particular compost that we keep really hot and kind of dig that into. So yeah, we use human manure. In fact, many cultures do, particularly island cultures. where they can't have like septic systems because the island is a rock, and they compost all their manure. They must. So let's have a little look here. So this is a garden that Claude just made this year. So it's been great for us to be at home. That is the popcorn that is coming up. And in between all that popcorn is where I picked the dry beans that are currently still in the shell and drying in the house on the floor on a sheet. Now we have all wood floors. So the wood floors are great for drying beans. And then I'll just get you a picture in case you want to look at my how to plant potatoes, which is like a 5-minute garden. Those are 2 rows of potatoes that I planted in 5 minutes. And your soil should not be overly rich in potato gardens, not any fresh compost, but good aged compost for your gut health. And then I'm going to take you up here. There's a beautiful red lettuce, the seeds for the radishes. These are some lovely, can you see the eggplants forming? And those are Brussels sprouts and our first peaches on our peach tree that we just put in this year. Look at those beauties. Oh my gosh, peaches the first year. And the way that we did that is you dig a bigger hole than you need, and then you put in compost that you've created on the first layer, fill it with water, then put your tree inside the bigger hole, and then you berm the edges of it so that you can't really see now. There's a slight depression around the outside ring, and that will create a way to maintain water and keep water. We've had a drought in Vermont this year, so it's been pretty intense to keep everything watered. But that tree, those 2 trees, have done really well. Now look, Claude did all of this year too. And when I say he did it, I mean he did it by hand with a post hole digger, and he put all these posts in so that we're having blackberry crisp this morning. And then he kept going truckload after truckload to get that wood chip matter and run it down the line. And then we have this solar powered electric fence outside the berries to keep the bears out so that we are safe in the morning. And I have a big blueberry crisp cooking right now. I'm going to turn this around and show you wood chips. Blackberries on one side, which actually makes a really good barrier to deer and other things. So we've got like 3 layers of fences. And then tied on this inner fence, tied up, are my beautiful yellow tomatoes, cherry tomatoes that are so yummy. And we've got peas tied up on this fence. These are going to be seed peas. So I'm letting them go to seed state with like a fully formed pea. And the tomatoes just lush, so lush that they're basically taking down the fence. And the wood chips, contrary to popular belief, raw wood chips, even if it's like pine or cedar or hemlock, they're all fine for the garden. Now what I'm trying to move is a giant gate. You wouldn't even know it's a gate. So you can make all your fencing really beautiful. I'm trying to move a giant gate right now that you could see in my other videos just a month or so ago, had nothing on it and would move by itself. In fact, it boomed in my seed saving video. But now it has grapes on it in 2 short months. So you've seen the grape house before in other videos, but you can see that here's the parsley and some more unbelievable tulsi. I've been making parsley pesto Here's a view from above. All of this was created this year, making wood chip paths. And we have various seeds being tied up right now. So you can use any kind of sapling or a bamboo stick and tie seeds up to dry outside if you're dry enough. If you're in, a place that's really wet, then don't worry about that. But again, this was like a roadside, weedy kind of bank. And now I'm going to show you what it looks like. All of these beautiful pathways were created by wood chips that Claude brought just this year. And then this is the last compost thing that I want to show you for your gut health, is this looks weedy right here, which is done intentionally. Because above it is a fence line with pumpkins. Let's see if I can show you. These are pie pumpkins growing. And then this is an underground tunnel of compost. And so we'll pull all of that green matter and add it to the side that is like currently composting. So it's a tunnel system of compost. And compost, again, can be made from your old bean plants, grasses, various weeds that you don't want to go to seed. Here's some beautiful dill and some lima beans growing with beet greens and red lettuce and Thai basil. Thai basil is really good. I've been making raw zucchini casseroles, like it's basically a salad, but you throw slices of zucchini with thyme and Thai basil and lemon juice and olive oil. Oh my gosh, it's so good. You just toss it together, maybe with some like raw garlic, and you have like raw food, because the less cooked food is, the better you're absorbing all of those microbes and enzymes. Whereas if you buy virtually anything at the store, it's tasteless. It doesn't have the enzymes. It's often irradiated, meaning that it's received irradiation to make sure that there are no bacteria on it. But then you're losing all the good bacteria that help you to digest and deal with viruses and so forth. So I'm going to go one more time to the pile of wood chips. That pile of wood chips is how you create good soil and good gut health, along with layering in several areas all around your yard. You only need an acre or half an acre. That's what I've just walked through. And you can have every kind of food, herb, fruit, beans, anything that you want to grow. And I'm in Vermont, so I'm in zone 3, so I have 3 months to grow. Anything will grow in that soil because it grows very fast. So even if you start late, like we had a frost June 1st, it'll grow really fast because you've created the same thing as a forest floor. You're creating like detritus from trees, which is what grows really good food. Okay, so that's a video on gut health, and you got to just do it. Don't just watch videos on how to do it. And again, don't dig into the soil like Claude. Just scrape or mow the top and then put down boxboard and then start layering on top of that. So it's a no-dig method, and that will help keep like the fungi and all of the natural bacterias and microbials in the soil. You don't want to plow it. You want to keep all of those fungal connections in the soil. Okay, thank you for watching.